I ain't ready for that. Stuck on my sauce, say they loving my drip. Pour forward in my codeine whenever I sip. She let me fuck cause her nigga a shrimp. All these hoes on my line, I'm a pimp. Got so much guap on me, I got a limp. Burning on gas, got me high like a blimp. I'm a big fish, but little nigga, you shrimp. I keep the tree like I work in some tin. Feel like I'm drowning inside of my bag. I smoke the 93, then sell the swag. Pull up in Mercedes, ain't pushing no jag. Chopped up a check in them, I'm popping tags. Stuck on my sauce, say they loving my drip. Pour forward in my codeine whenever I sip. She let me fuck cause her nigga a shrimp. All these hoes on my line, I'm a pimp. Got so much guap on me, I got a limp. Burning on gas, got me high like a blimp. I'm a big fish, but little nigga, you shrimp. I keep the tree like I work in some tin. Feel like I'm drowning inside of my bag. I smoke the 93, then sell the swag. Pull up in Mercedes, ain't pushing no jag. Chopped up a check in them, I'm popping tags. Got a big bag, got a big mad. I get big cash, stupid fast, smoking stupid gas. You smoke that super swag, my super set. I can't even left, what's broke, that's in the past. Stupid stash, shout it super stack, I'm bout to super smash. Shout it body booming, bout to break her back. Baby say she bougie, got a bustin' bag. She gon' break down the brick in the trap. She gon' shake it like a stripper for a steak. Love the Henny and she like to get snatched. Super freaky, my meat no snake. Say she let me think that bitch done got attached. Party over, bout to get your whole back. Look on my sauce, say they loving my drip. Pour forward in my codeine whenever I sip. She let me fuck cause her nigga a shrimp. All these hoes on my line, I'm a pimp. Got so much guap on me, I got a limp. Burning on gas, got me high like a blimp. I'm a big fish, but little nigga, you shrimp. I keep the tree like I work in some tin. Feel like I'm drowning inside of my bag. I smoke the 93, then sell the swag. Pull up in Mercedes, ain't pushing no jag. Chopped up a check in them, I'm popping tags. Stuck on my sauce, say they loving my drip. Pour forward in my codeine whenever I sip. She let me fuck cause her nigga a shrimp. All these hoes on my line, I'm a pimp. Got so much guap on me, I got a limp. Burning on gas, got me high like a blimp. I keep the tree like I work in some tin. Feel like I'm drowning inside of my bag. I smoke the 93, then sell the swag. Pull up in Mercedes, ain't pushing no jag. Chopped up a check in them, I'm popping tags.
So, I genuinely... Yo, this song goes out to my Princess Peaches. Y'all know who you are. Yo.
What's going on, All Madden Gaming? We are live here, twitch.tv/All Madden Gaming CFM. We have some great content today. It's going to be the AMG, the Headliners podcast episode numero uno. Let everybody know in the chat that we are live, and we're going to be kicking off here in about 30 seconds. So this is a little pre-warning. Get your popcorn ready. We're going to be discussing a lot of things, including off-season, free agency, training camps, rookie draft impressions, who stole the draft, who didn't steal the draft. We're going to start off with a nice Tom Brady quote to kind of flip it upside down from what my director gave me as our timestamp here, because I got a quote from Tom Brady coming up in 30 seconds. We'll be right back. All right, I'm joined alongside my co-host right now, All Madden Gaming. This is the Headliners Podcast, episode number 1. We don't know about the song. Let's get Jamie started off with something good here.
Yeah, a couple of real quick takes, and then we'll just
play me in.
And here we go. J.P from the street. He got the heat. One-man army. Haven't heard it before. We're just going to roll it as it goes. All right, something maybe Jamie get funky with. All right, we're going to start off. I know we got the format, and here's what we're going to be discussing today, guys. Let me know how it looks and sounds in the chat. More importantly, how it sounds. It's going to be audio-only podcast. Go about 10 to 12 minutes before we get kicking into it. Here's what we're discussing today. Quarterback camp battles. Well, it looks like we're adjusting as we go. Quarterback camp battle: Matt Stafford, Keith Turner, Tom Brady, Kenny Monroe, Sam Darnold, Corey Lynch. And we're going to talk about Brady potentially being benched. And then we're going to go rookie class, some impressions that we have. Who won the draft? Minnesota Vikings are absolutely on fire when you talk about the draft because everyone's thinking how they do it, how they get away with a steal. Saquon Barkley's name being dropped around, Jamie, in the trade block. We're going to talk about that. Miller's power rankings just dropped. So we got a lot to get to, and also the preseason champion. Well, the AMG Season 5 Super Bowl champion, New York Jets. Well, let's get right into this quote that I just got from the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers regarding Tom Brady, and my phone just died, so I'm going to have to go to Discord myself and take a look. Here's the quote. You ready for this one, J. Dot?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, so Tom Brady has been treating Kenny like his own since the day he walked in. He's teaching him everything he knows, and it's showing. He's off to a fast start, and we're excited. As far as Tom Brady or Kenny Monroe starting, no decision has been made yet.
So no decision has been made.
No decision has been made yet. Yeah, okay. But he is informing us that Tom Brady is.
What we're hearing is Brady's being like a professional. He's being a professional.
He's being a pro, but isn't this to hand it off?
Acting like a 46-year-old veteran quarterback.
Yeah.
In this league.
But are you concerned if you're Tampa?
I mean, look.
Are you concerned a little bit because they're kind of sounding like they're saying we're kind of pushing for this young guy and Tom's on board with it? We haven't made a decision yet.
Well, that's the optics. That's what the team wants you to think. I don't know if Brady necessarily is as complacent as he is overjoyed to see this young upstart Kenny Monroe come in. I think Brady has always played with a chip on his shoulder, and he still thinks he has a lot of tread on his tires.
And see, that's a good point because this isn't coming from Tom Brady. This is coming from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach, who obviously is going to spin it. But it seems like I'm just maybe reading into it too much, J.P. But I'm thinking this coach is ready.
If I was Brady, I'd be angry. I'd be angry if I was Brady.
Yeah,
and I suspect maybe that is the actual sentiment once you look past these owner statements, who seem to be pushing this youth movement, pushing the Buccaneers to get a little bit more athletic. Yeah. But I mean, Brady's going to be a professional. He's not going to throw a pity party. He's had lots of his backups I wouldn't say success, but they got starting jobs elsewhere. You got Jimmy G, Matt Schaub. Like, he has a history of working with his backup. It's not something like an Aaron Rodgers situation where he's not going to talk to his backup. So like I think Brady should be the starter. Kenny Monroe, he's a heck of a prospect.
But you can't tell me Kenny Monroe is going to outperform Tom Brady in this preseason and outperform him in practice throughout this entire training camp. That's just not true. So if they do make the change to go away from Tom Brady, yeah, I'd be pissed off if I was Tom Brady. I mean, he just took him to the NFC.
I mean, he just took him to the Super
Bowl. You got an NFC championship, and you're going to turn your eye to what is arguably, he's one of the oldest quarterbacks to ever do it, but man, he's still playing top 3, top 4 quarterback football. How do you just move away from that? And when is the right time? I guess it could be now. Just seems a little early to me.
Yeah, it's definitely. I don't have any doubts about Kenny Monroe's talent. I think he's a very talented kid. But the decision-making by this Buccaneers organization to bench Tom Brady, the veteran who just took you to the Super Bowl, like I don't see how Kenny Monroe is going to take that next step for them in winning a Super Bowl. So that's personally, I think it's a mistake. All signs are pointing towards Kenny Monroe being the starter coming week 1.
Yeah,
with Brady
I know. Yeah,
as this emergency contingency. Well, I don't think he should be the emergency contingency. He should be QB1, day 1, week 1.
Yeah, you think the PR team on the Twitter for the Bucs, they got a little heat for that. You just see them kind of just really pushing Kenny Monroe and almost trying to subtly allow us to believe that somehow this is an acceptable move here for the Bucs. It just can't be on the NFC Championship. Let's talk about another team. Let's move on. We'll talk about Brady potential trades at the very end of the show. I just want to get your take on that. But Matt Stafford, Keith Turner, Stafford once again. What were they, number 1 in the NFC number 1, number 2 at the end of the season, but they played phenomenal throughout the entire year. Cooper Kupp, Matt
towards the end
Stafford.
of the year, you looked at Miller's power rankings. He was right at there. The Rams are right at the top of the list.
So what's so different?
And I don't think
Why
you
are we going to push this Keith Turner guy?
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a similar situation where I think Stafford right now, looking at week 1 and looking at playoffs, Stafford I think is going to be the better quarterback.
Absolutely.
He has experience. He still has lots of strength in that arm, despite his injury issues. And Keith Turner, I just don't see it myself.
He's another strong arm guy. You think Stafford can help him, kind of be a mentor for him, and I think he could, but he's going to have to do that being on the field. Keith Turner's obviously, in my opinion, he's definitely not ready to make this jump. This is a guy taken in the 3rd round out of TCU, 6'3", 232. Very similar build to Matt Stafford's got a very strong arm. He can bring the heat and sling it with the best of them, but people had him going middle of the 2nd round to the 4th round. I just don't think you blow it up just yet, especially when Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, they look like one of the most dynamic duos from that receiving quarterback, QB1, wide receiver 1 position. I would hope that they stay the course here with Matt Stafford for another year. Same with Brady with the Buccaneers. What do you think, Keith Turner, Matt Stafford? How's it really going to play out?
I mean, it's a huge leap. It's a huge leap for Keith Turner to go from TCU to the Los Angeles Rams, and expectations for this Rams team is to be in the Super Bowl. Like, if you miss the playoffs, that's a disaster for this organization. And I think it's a major risk with not a lot of reward in starting Keith Turner. Like, sure, he put up great numbers at TCU, but once again, this is AMG. We are taking a guy out of TCU, sending him to the biggest market in the league, and expecting him to perform like Matt Stafford. I just don't see it happening.
It's not going to be one size fits all either, even though they are similar builds. We talk Matt Stafford, Keith Turner. Another one we brought up, Sam Darnold. Now, he had his ups and downs with the Carolina Panthers. Corey Lynch, potential starter here for the Carolina Panthers. Give us some insight on this one. This one I don't think is the same as the other two, because Sam Darnold became out of favor with his team last season about midway through. It just all turned to the fans and the front office at the same time just realizing, man, this guy isn't our guy for the future.
I think this is a situation where the organization, like, after they saw what Darnold could do, and they're just like, I'm ready to do anything else. Which is surprising why Corey Lynch found himself in this situation, because it's almost like default, because they didn't sign anybody in free agency, and this was their only pick, which was at the end of the 2nd round out of Florida.
But let's adjust the real things about Corey Lynch, and a lot of people aren't going to like this. Corey Lynch can't throw. He's not a great passer.
He doesn't have the arm talent.
Doesn't have an arm talent. His accuracy is suspect as it can be, especially at Florida. We did see him throw a couple jump balls here and there and make those spectacular plays that a lot of us clipped and have the YouTube highlights running in our screen right now. But Corey Lynch is not a sit-in-the-pocket passer. He's not going to be that guy ever. But what he does give you is the ability to extend a play, the quickness, the agility, the acceleration, and then when he's running with the ball, man, he's just a tough guy to bring down. Now, is that going to be enough to offset his inability to actually throw the ball?
I have major reservations on that, just because, like, everything goes back to it doesn't have the arm talent. I don't know if Corey Lynch has better arm talent than Sam Darnold. Yeah. He doesn't have as strong as an arm, and his accuracies are very erratic. That it got Florida into some bad situations and a lower bowl than they would have expected from a powerhouse university like that.
I know you have the explosion on the offensive side of the ball. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall Jr. You have a lot of talent here. And don't forget about the 2nd-year player, Tommy Tremble, number 82. They have a lot of these speedy wide receivers, solid tight ends. They're young. I think a perfect fit right now. He's sitting at home, probably waiting for the call, Ryan Tannehill. I'd like to see him take over as the quarterback here for this year. If you don't like Sam Darnold and you think Corey Lynch has a spot in your offense, let him come in and spell out Ryan Tannehill on some of these runs or give him a little taste. But if you really want to move away from Sam Darnold, there's a quality quarterback in free agency right now, Ryan Tannehill, and that might be the play for Carolina. What do you think? Tannehill in or not?
I can
move,
see it.
no good.
I'm not going to throw it out. I would do it if I was in the front office of the Carolina. I'm looking at the analytics on Corey Lynch, and right now he's ranked, after going through the preseason, he's the 92nd out of 136 quarterbacks in the AMG.
Yeah.
So there's you can fill out everybody's roster 3 times over before you get to Corey Lynch as a starter. It's just confusing for me.
I completely agree. And when I look at Corey Lynch, as I said, even at Florida, he struggled with accuracy in a situation where he obviously had AMG athleticism, right? At that quarterback position, he could run, he can move, he can make those spectacular plays, but he really struggled throwing the ball. And he doesn't have. You said he had that ability to extend plays, but he doesn't have that elite athleticism that we saw out of some of the other quarterbacks taken much higher. Exactly, especially what we got in Denver. You got a guy that can drive the ball, got a good arm, and he has the ability to extend the play, and that's what the difference is. So when you really look at a quarterback like this, you wonder, okay, what am I getting from this guy? What can he do on play action? He's not even great on play action. And that's the one thing, if you can get a power run behind an athletic quarterback and he can do something off play action, it can get real dangerous. I just don't see it there. Not a big fan of Corey Lynch. I don't know why he was taken at the end of the 2nd round. I think they had him projected going 4th round. It was a little early snack, so there's somebody in that organization that's favorable to Corey Lynch. I don't know if we see it happen. Could happen, could not. Not really in touch with that organization enough to know. But as Jamie said right there, if Sam Darnold isn't your guy, what about Corey Lynch could you possibly like? Because I think I like his throwing motion. He's got a natural throwing motion. That's about the only positive I can think of Corey Lynch. It's just a lot of work. It's a project. Let's go ahead and move on. We're going to ask the chat right now, what's your percent on Tom Brady being traded this season? Could it happen? Could it not happen? We'll let Jamie break it down here for us.
Do I think Tom Brady is going to be traded? I don't see it. I think Brady's too valuable to go, and you're not going to get fair value out of it. Even if he's sitting on the bench, he's a very expensive insurance policy. But I don't see any team being able to, at this point, going into week 1 of AMG season 6, I don't see anybody being able to offer fair compensation for Brady for a talent of that quality. You're going with the young guy. If that's what they do decide to do, it's a big distraction having the greatest of all time sitting on that sideline, and you know he's itching to play, and he comes ready each and every week. We'll see how that plays off. Let's go ahead and move down to format sheet. Rookie class impressions so far. A lot of quarterbacks taken early. Jamie, just hit on a couple of these quarterbacks that went early. We know Washington got one, Denver got one. Who's the best out of these quarterbacks, or what's the differences here? If you have a quarterback that plays this style, he's great for this team, and then you have a quarterback that plays a style, another type of style, he's great for this certain team. I feel like a lot of teams won with what their roster has and provides. They got the best quarterback for them. Yeah, we have to start at the top of the draft. Yeah, Washington gave away 3 first-round picks to move up this draft. The horn on that. And before you go, 3 first-round picks, Jamie, to you, what has to be there at the quarterback position? Give us a QB comparison of what you would think, someone from real life here that you say, okay, it has to be at this level or higher at his prime. I don't think you have to go to somewhere like Andrew Luck, which is like one of the greatest quarterback prospects in the history of the AMG. But I would say you're looking for you think you're one quarterback away. Yeah. And you think this is generational talent to give up that much draft collateral. And you got to remember Washington's coming. He's got great arm strength, not amazing elite arm strength, but it's great. His accuracies for a rookie, for a guy coming out of USC, he can make all the throws. He can fit into a pocket, and he's got decent athleticism, which I like. But I think he's the best quarterback. Let's keep on moving down the draft. The second pick in the draft, Denver took Barry George, who I think should have gone number 1. Barry George, his elite athleticism. People say, oh, he's the GOAT. He's the next MJ. He's the next Vic. This guy, he might be the next Vic. He's got such an strong arm, and he's by far, he was the fastest guy in this whole draft at quarterback.
Yeah, did you see how many receivers came out of Ohio State, all products of
Barry George.
Barry George's ability to try the ball deep down the field. And you got a speedster, 5'10", $192, goes in the 7th round. He played for Ohio State. He goes in the 7th round. Reggie Alexander to the Detroit Lions, and this guy is not. I wouldn't say he was AMG. You know, I don't think he has a spot guaranteed in there. I think he was so far off. There was about 6 that went before, 4 or 5 actually. And he was the 5th one, and you just think you get 5 receivers that come out of Ohio State in the same year that a quarterback comes out of Ohio State that we had marked at number 2, and then towards the end of the season, his collegiate career just took off, and it's like you said, this guy might be far ahead of Ben Vaughn.
I mean,
and I was Ben Vaughn all the way.
Yeah, when you have that much talent on a college program, in the same class, you have to trust your scouting. You have to do your scouting. You have to trust the process. That how much of this is the talent of the prospect, and how much of this is the talent of a product of the talent surrounding this prospect.
Yeah, and there you go. And you talk about speed, athleticism to hit that gear and look like Vic with his legs. Let's talk about this arm that this kid has and who he's going to be throwing to, because they got a speedy offense in Denver. You think of Noah Fant, right? Immediately at that position, one of the fastest at the tight end position, if not the fastest. Then you have Calvin Ridley, another guy that can just get open. Jerry Jeudy, exactly, and you have Jerry Jeudy along with KJ Hamler, who's the sneaky pick if you're fantasy. You know, you got a 14-man fantasy, Jamie. KJ Hamler might be especially because of his kick return ability, he's going to be those one-hitter quitters. He's going to get you probably a touchdown, 80 yards in a good week.
Little late season steal, yeah, or late in the draft steal.
So I like,
and you didn't even. There's so many different ways that Denver can attack you. You didn't even mention Cortland Sutton. He's that big body that can.
Oh, he's the stabilizer. Yep, absolutely.
Exactly.
They all do a little bit of different things, and Cortland Sutton, is kind of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. He's the one that brings it all together because of his ability to be that traditional prototype big receiver, and he's still got some juice in those legs for being his size. He moves really well, and that's a big target. Another big target there for the rookie quarterback. A couple people in the chat said 50% chance of trading Tom Brady, and then a lot said 0. I guess one person said 50%. I still think it's 50-50. Someone could make it happen in some way. Let's close up the show here.
I don't know. Flip a coin.
Yeah. Hey, it might even come down to that. The rookie quarterback's playing well, and you need a little bit more juice somewhere. You might look at Tom Terrific and say, you know what, let's give you an opportunity to get back on the field and let us get a little bit of something extra on the return here. Best draft so far. Everyone's saying Minnesota. I'm saying Minnesota because, they just drafted defensively at a different level. Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, exactly. They identified a need. The Vikings in the past couple of years, they have gone after a lot of defensive backs, a lot of corners, a lot of safeties, and that hasn't really panned out. But I think this year, the Vikings did an excellent job drafting, and they found a lot of weapons on that defense. And it starts with Ed Hart. Ed Hart out of Texas A&M.
Oh my God!
I thought he's the best defensive player in this whole draft.
I thought Washington, you know how crazy this pass rush is on paper. So they give another weapon to them on the back end with a guy like Ed Hart. That could be looking at one of the most lockdown defenses for years to come. They obviously went with a quarterback. That's what decision you make when you're first overall and you give up that much. You can't go for a safety, right? But if you were going to go for any safety, you go for Ed Hart and you let it all go to bring home a guy like that.
Yeah, Ed Hart, they took that corner early in with that third pick. They had the patience to wait until the 15th pick in that first round, and they take Jason Fowler, who arguably is the second best defensive prospect in this whole draft. Some people would say even first. So that automatically, it just shores up that defensive back. They still have Daniel Hunter on the front end, fighting pressure. And I just love this draft. There's a lot of depth in here, too. They also drafted an explosive wide receiver out of UCF, BJ Garland. And everyone's saying BJ Garland and Justin Jefferson, they could be the two, come by the end of this season, they could be the best wide receiver duo in the whole AMG.
Yeah, and I had him backwards there. Ed Hart, obviously the cornerback, taken 4th overall. And,
That's
out of A&M.
Very soon, I think we're all going to know Ed Hart's name.
Ed Hart and Fowler, I mean, just the improvement on that backside for that defense is going to be huge. You still have Anthony Barr there, 30 years young. Eric Kendricks, 30 years young. You have a lot of talent. You lose Harrison Smith you still have Harrison Smith playing strong safety. Obviously, that's where you're looking to replace when you bring in a guy like Fowler. Mm-hmm. There's just so much talent, and these older guys on this team are still going to be able to provide that mentorship and give you those big plays. So really excited about Minnesota. They're my favorites for the draft. Anybody else? Honorable mentions: Arizona Cardinals, New York Giants, New York Jets. Jets had a phenomenal offseason. Maybe talk about them for a second here.
Yeah, Jets got a lot more athletic this year.
If you want to watch them, we're going to have them on tomorrow.
Offense.
9 p.m. Eastern here on twitch.tv/All Madden Gaming CFM. We're on the New York Giants franchise focus to kick off AMG Season 6. But continue, Jamie. What are we looking at with the Jets here?
Oh, I'll be tuning into franchise focus. But here we have Patrick. I was saying Patrick Lindsey. They got way more athletic across the board on both sides of the ball. Patrick Lindsley, wide receiver out of Oklahoma State, pure speed. And it's a value draft. It's a value pick at 21 in the first round. They're getting a guy who can start automatically just with his athleticism. And at the top of the draft with their 4th overall pick, they got cornerback Adrian Palmer. After Ed Hart, Adrian Palmer is the second best corner I had rated in this draft.
Don't forget about that 3rd round pick they got with Chris Knox out of San Diego State. He was maybe a little bit of Kawhi Leonard there. Maybe it pays off against some professional talent hitting the main stage. Chris Knox, 5'10", $189, too small, but he's got blazing speed. He's got great agility. He can catch and get up there.
The season the Jets had, I think they just wanted to find more athletes on the team.
Exactly, because I think it was a poor
competition.
Corey Davis didn't live up to the hype. Elijah Moore, super talented wide receiver for them.
Jamison Crowder, he was a free agent. I think he's still sitting on the couch right now waiting for a call.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just move on altogether from Corey Davis.
I think they're looking for answers. And they had a lot of draft collateral. And it's taking these chances on these athletic kids and seeing if they're going to develop into a star.
Definitely a scary team.
The more lottery, more tickets you're holding, the more chances you have at that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way the Jets are approaching this draft.
It went from a very disappointing franchise focus. We did 2 episodes. I expect us to do somewhere between 4 and 6. This is a talented team. On defense, the front line had an off season to remember. It just seems like everybody came back. They're playing their best football. They're in shape. They've had great camps. Hard work paying off here for the New York Jets. Miller Power Rankings just dropped. You can check them out on daddyleagues.com/AMG. Scroll down to our Miller Thriller early AMG Season 6 Power Rankings. And anything jump off at the screen there for you?
No, I don't think a lot of the preseason was taken into account of this yet. And I don't think you really necessarily can take a ton away from that other than some of these QB battles. But I think he got it pretty spot on. You got to start off with the defending champions, the Jaguars. I mean, that's a given. I think that team got a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
It might not have taken as large a leaps as some of these other teams, but I think it maintained the talent on that team. Looking down here, Panthers Panthers, I might drop them one slot just because of that uncertainty of quarterback right now, where I don't like any of the options for the Panthers.
And I think the
That
Chiefs
would bump
are
the Ravens up one.
are surprisingly high. They had some really nice victories at the end of AMG Season 5. Didn't live up to the hype in the playoffs. But they got them right back here at 6.
A lot of quality wins they had. But they ended up losing to division mates, the Raiders, who are how many? They're two
They're
spots
sitting at 9.
them.
Yeah.
3 spots behind them. But other than that, I really like the rankings. Miller does a great job every week on this.
Two teams right now you expect to jump up on this ratings fairly quickly. I got the Broncos to be better than 29, and the Bears going to be much better than 28. They're going to be somewhere in the mix this season. Packers at 17. They could stay around there. I have them dropping just a little bit in my book here. And watch out for the Dallas Cowboys because Zeke Elliott's always looking fresh. No Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard just got shipped to Kansas City. Did you catch that trade? Yeah. So there's some speed now at that running back position for Kansas City, and it looks like
another weapon.
The power rankings are starting to favor that. I mean, they got them at number 6 here for the Chiefs, and rounding out the top 10, 7 is the Colts, 8 is the Los Angeles Rams, 9 is the Oakland Raiders, and surprisingly at 10, the New Orleans Saints.
Saints are a team where it's like they're at a fork in the road. And I don't know, but I can't wait to find out which direction they go. The roster is limited because of some of these signings they made in the past. They are having a little bit of cap issue, but they overachieved last year.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great organization who knows how to evaluate the hand they're dealt and play it to the best of their ability and maximize potential.
Yeah, one thing about them, they're staying in the mix, even while they're transitioning at this quarterback position.
Yeah. I don't have a strong opinion on the Saints. I think they could go one of two ways. They could be in the top 10 of the AMG, or they can be in the bottom 10 of the AMG. And neither of those, if you told me that come week 17, I wouldn't be very surprised.
Yeah, I'm on board with you there. But that's going to do it for the show. We try to come out with these shows weekly, maybe set a day at some point. Be usually about 10 to 15 minutes. I know this one ran a little bit long. Before we let you go, J.Pete, what's your prediction for the AMG Season 6 Super Bowl? I need both teams. I need the winner, and I need the score.
I think it's going to be the Ravens representing the AFC. I really like the Colts, but I think the Ravens are going to come out after a one-and-done last playoffs with the real vendetta. And I can see the Rams. Even though they're
okay. Is this going to be the Matt Stafford Rams or going with the rookie?
I don't know. I'm hoping it's the Matt Stafford Rams if I'm a Rams fan.
What do you got to the score of that game?
I'm going to go 34-32 favoring the Rams.
Oh, Rams in an upset. Another upset there. All right,
Close
guys. Appreciate everybody checking us out. For myself and J.Pete, that'll do it for the show. We'll see you next time here on the Headliners Podcast. This was episode 1. If you enjoyed it, you can rewatch it here on YouTube. I'll have it uploaded by the end of the night. You guys have a good night. Also, division banners and championship banners going to be going up here in the next hour. And we're out.